Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hello, you made the trip to Eugene Cannabis TV. We got our friend here, Willie Nelson. Reverend Will with the Willie Nelson T-shirt.
Hey, yeah.
That's great. Willie Nelson's endorsed OCTA, the Measure 9 legalization initiative, and I've heard that he contributed also. I'm not sure of that fact.
We need to get him here to do a show.
I know. That's been my dream for a long time.
It'd be nice if he could do all three. If he could do the Hemp Fest here, the Hemp Fest in Portland, the Hemp Fest in Seattle.
Well, yeah, that would really put the thing on the map.
We'll just tell him, come on, stay here for a month or two, and we'll take care of you, and then you can go on and watch your business.
I remember on 60 Minutes, Willie Nelson, about, I don't know, a number of years ago, said that if it wasn't for marijuana, he wouldn't have been able to quit the drugs that were really causing him problems, alcohol and tobacco.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now there's as clear a ringing recommendation as you can find when you have somebody like Willie who's done so much good for so many people, who's just going, I just want to see it legal so that we can take care of each other. And that's all we're saying. And now we have an organization that's springing up that wants to bring all our organizations together, get everybody on the same page. And it's, well, why don't you talk about it, Dan? You got...
Yeah, it says the online activist organization Anonymous has begun phase 1 of OpCannabis. The online organization Anonymous it's an effort to educate the public and work on behalf of cannabis legalization worldwide. In announcing OpCannabis, which officially launches on April 20th, Anonymous released the following statement. Dear citizens of the world, for too long cannabis has been oppressed by big corporations, big pharma, and governments when it could be benefiting all mankind on many different levels. We have heard and we have watched our government lie and deceive you on all the dangers of cannabis. Show support by making your profile pictures green this April 20th on your social network profiles. OpCannabis Phase 1 initiated. We are anonymous. Expect us. Attention individual people, governments, companies, and fellow anons. We are anonymous, and we have an important message for you. Plato said that it was okay to lie only if it truly benefits all of mankind. Plato called this lie the noble lie. But for too long there has been a lie that has been perpetrated, but it is neither noble nor does it benefit all of mankind. Actually, quite the opposite. The cannabis plant is one of the world's oldest and best medicines that has been known as beneficial for thousands of years. Agree with that?
Well, yeah, I just had a phone call before I came in. A friend of mine, Philip, who's been on dialysis for over 20 years. And in that process, he says straight up that what's basically helped him to maintain and to stay alive is cannabis. But he gets basically abused by the medical system in his process. He's had to go all the way to Salem in order to get his dialysis done sometimes. His partner was rejected as far as being able to get cannabis, and she died. And so now he's having to go through getting his valves worked on in his heart. And, you know, it's sad that our government cares less about its people than it does about the profits of the corporations that exist. And that's why the 99% started up. That's why we now have Anonymous being launched, because we're afraid of our government. If we weren't afraid, you'd see thousands of people in the streets and banging drums and pans and whatever it takes in order to wake people up. But we're just straight up afraid, and we don't have the cojones to get up and to stand up to our own government and tell them, we need action now. You have no proof of the things that you've been saying about marijuana being bad forever, you have not one person who has died from an overdose of marijuana. I would love to have that be true, but I know that people have put up like $10,000, I remember one time. Show me the person who has died from marijuana, and we'll pay you $10,000. The government being in the hole they're in, $10,000 might help. But they're not going to tell the truth. They don't want to tell the truth. They're not interested. They didn't want to tell you the truth about how the military was responsible for bringing all the pot into this country in the first place until we learned how to grow it ourselves. So right now, to finish up with this, there's more, isn't there, Dan, on this?
Yeah, it says that it says we will ask you to please educate yourself on its many benefits and share these benefits with your sick or injured friends. We all know someone that has cancer or diabetes, and cannabis has helped or cured both and many other disorders. Anonymous will begin its support for the legalization of marijuana on 4/20/2012. So please show your support by educating yourselves and making your profile picture or timeline banner on your social service accounts green or 420 friendly. And speaking of 420, that fits right in with what I wanted to be sure and talk about. Is the Bull Branch is having their 420 annual celebration. I've confirmed that, and they say it will be on April 20th. Which is, of course, Friday at 4:20, and I said, oh, okay, what time does it start? And he looked at me, and I said, oh, 4:20, of course. So 4:20 p.m., that's where to be. That's the Bull Branch. It's in behind the market.
Dairy Mart.
Dairy Mart, thank you. Dairy Mart there on Franklin Boulevard. It's right behind it. It's the first residence on the left. And privately owned, and it's just a small donation. We'll have our booth there, so you can come down and see some of the cannabis activists here in town. I'm sure will be in and out of there. Anyway, that's on Friday. So then Saturday, on the 21st, we have the Spring Fling. I get my mouth working. Spring Fling, which is a benefit for the Emerald Empire Hemp Fest, and that'll be at 8 p.m. Saturday, the 21st, and that'll be at the 1400 block on Willamette. We've got a unique band coming in. It's going to be more of a mellow kind of a thing than we've had before. It's not going to be rock and roll. It's more of acoustic, mellow, and
nice.
And yeah, and
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really great event. So then. Let's see, then May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is the street fair I've been talking about. We'll have a booth at the street fair. We'll be working on both initiatives, 9 and 24, legalization initiatives. We'll be selling items for the Hemp Fest to raise funds. So just stop in and say hi and check out the street fair. It's a really neat scene, and we look forward to it every year, especially the spring fair, the spring street fair. I say a lot of pretty girls walking around there. You got to be careful of whiplash. You know, you start looking back and forth, and you got to be.
I know.
It's a good time. And then May 5th, Saturday, the following Saturday, which is May 5th, the Global Marijuana March, and we're going to be on the Freedom Plaza. We're not going to be at the federal courthouse at all this year. We're going to be right on the Freedom Plaza. We'll start at 11 o'clock. Will, among others, will be out leading people around at 11, parading around, and we'll come back and come back together on the Freedom Plaza at high noon, and that's where we'll have speakers, and about speakers for about an hour and a half, and then we'll have some live music, and of course it's all free. And then let's see. So then, of course, every Saturday, we just started last Saturday. We have our booth at Saturday Market again. We're going to try to keep that there every weekend throughout the summer for cannabis information.
Nice.
It's really important, and we feel it's really important to be there so that people can come and find out the information they need, how to get active or be active, what's going on in the movement, any questions about medical marijuana, latest newspapers. We should keep them there too. You pick up, no charge. So.
Right.
So anyway, that's happening. So I want to sure and put a plug in for that. And then this is on the, in fact, both of these stories are on the weedblog.com, and I wanted to be sure and put in a plug for them because they're doing a heck of a job and some excellent stories, very timely. Yeah. And they're real big on the campaign now for the Attorney General, the election coming up for the Attorney voting on Attorney General of Oregon. We have two people running. We have Dwight Holden and Ellen Rosenblum. Dwight Holden is an ex-federal prosecutor that's done a lot of, he's really anti-marijuana and especially medical marijuana. And then Ellen Rosenblum, his opponent, is actually pro-patients using marijuana, and she's more on our side. So, and oh, by the way, back up a minute, Dwight Holden was a Republican, but he filed as a Democrat to try to get on the ballot. So anyway, and it's very important. This is very important. The primary is May 15th. So what we want people to do is to register as a Democrat before April 24th. Then you can vote in the Democrat primary, and then you can vote for Ellen Rosenblum, because she needs all the votes she can get. Because the thing is that this is going to be decided in May 15th, not November, because this is the primary. If Dwight Holden gets in, then Ellen Rosenblum hasn't got a prayer, she's already out, and then he's running to get somebody else. So we need to get him out from the get-go. So if we can get her in, that can get him out, and then we can breathe a sigh of relief. So again, April 24th, register as a Democrat. You can re-register again after the primary. There's nothing wrong with that. You're free to change often as you want. There's no charge. It's just a matter of filling out a simple form. We'll have them down at Saturday Market. You can pick them up at the post office. So it's real important. We don't want Dwight Holden in there, that's for sure. That'd be worse than the last one we had.
Yeah, well, I try to keep my mouth shut about this stuff because mainly I tell people that they should be able to go to the Attorney General and tell him straight up that we need the support of the state of Oregon in having, well, I personally am tired of medical marijuana. I really am. I haven't liked it since the very beginning because I don't like half-stepping about anything. I want legalization. I want legalization now. I mean, I'm sitting here reading this, and it's talking about how John Kroger, who was running for the position, had let us know that he was going to do what he could to stand up to the feds because he felt that the people of the state of Oregon had said that they wanted us to be protected from the feds, that states' rights should have more weight than the federal government when it comes to the people of the state telling you what to do. And for me, that's the way it should be. The Attorney General of this state not only should be telling the feds to back off, but he should be telling the federal government not to be so concerned about us maybe getting a few, joints, maybe ounces, who knows, maybe pounds to patients who could use it, because the worst thing they're going to do is take care of their family and friends.
I had a chance to read this. Let me read you something real quick. John Kroger was nowhere to be found when the feds were raiding the medical marijuana patients in Southern Oregon.
Right.
But at least he didn't proactively try to harm the OMMP. Dwight Holden, this is what he did. Dwight Holden sent letters to cannabis clubs and their landlords trying to intimidate people into closing off-sale access to countless Oregon medical marijuana patients. That's Dwight Holden, so we definitely got to keep him out.
Right, so I guess we're going to take a break here, and we'll come back in a little bit, and we'll give you some more information about these things. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of us through the lines here at the TV show, Emerald Empire Hemp Fest. We're there. All you have to do is reach out, and we'll accept the call. Thanks. So we're back, and now we're ready to talk to you about this poll that we see here from Rasmussen. The poll says 47% say legalize, tax marijuana. Support for legalizing and taxing marijuana outmuscled opposition to it in the latest Rasmussen poll to ask respondents about the issue. Support was at 47%, while opposition was at 42%, with 10% undecided in the poll released last Thursday. Respondents were asked the following question: to help solve America's fiscal problems, should the country legalize and tax marijuana? Rasmussen conducted a telephone survey of 1,000 adults nationwide this week. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. Support is up 4 points since Rasmussen last asked that question in July 2010. That's in line with the most recent national polls, which show a continuing upward trend for legalization, which is now hovering on the cusp of majority support. Angus Reid polled support for legalization at 55% in August, while Gallup had it at 50% in October, continuing a long-term upward trends in support. A November CBS News poll had supported only 40%, a decline from its previous number, but it is the downside outlier. Colorado and Washington will vote on marijuana legalization initiatives in November, but the Rasmussen poll doesn't provide crosstabs and geographic breakdowns to anyone except paying subscribers, so regional data is unavailable. Most other polls show higher levels of support for marijuana legalization in the West than in the country as a whole.
That's what they call it the left coast.
Well, you know, one of the things that's the most funniest and saddest at the same time is the fact that if the people really knew how beneficial marijuana could be, if they really knew how many different aspects of it can be used for different things, for medicine, for fuel, for food, you know, clothing, all those things are right there in the forefront. But there's many other things like plastics and stuff that could also be made out of marijuana. And the thing is that we can't get the truth out there because the government is so focused on telling these lies. And the people, and I don't blame the people, I mean, they're supposed to be able to believe their government. But I mean, it's really, really sad as a veteran to know that you cannot count on your government to tell the truth. Believe me, every day I have to go through dealing with that. So do you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
See?
The question, they say that it's on a poll, it can actually depend on the question. So just to be fair, I want to let everybody know exactly what the question was. The question was, to help solve America's physical problems, should the country legalize and tax marijuana? And again, that was 47%, which is a 4% increase since 2010. That's 2 years when it's 4%. That's
right, but see, once again, they're just talking about the fiscal aspect, and that's just the money aspect.
Oh, yeah,
it has nothing to do with people's health. It has nothing to do with people being able to create businesses.
Right, but the thing is that they talk about the tax marijuana, trying to get the people on the fence to come on our side if they can get some tax money out of it, you know, because, you know, a lot of people said for years, yeah, legalize, I'd love to pay taxes on it. Just let me use it.
Right, so then we even have people in California who are paying taxes on it, who are sitting there and actually went to the city council and said, look, we have a small excess here and we'd like to be able to help you. And this was to do with the school systems. Now here in Oregon, for people, you know, I mean, we are supposed to be people who can't remember anything because we smoke pot. But understand, what is wrong with all the people who don't smoke pot, who don't remember that when the lottery started, the lottery was to benefit our schools, which now are in the tubes, because now the lottery's doing things like building business. That's not what it was created for, but we don't mind. You can do that if you want. You can lie just like the federal government does and, you know, just do whatever the heck you want. But understand this, we have solutions. You know, just like I told Bill Morissette when we were in Congress up there in Salem, I said, you don't want solutions. You know, for whatever reasons, you like this cesspool that you've created. And you're going to keep on creating it because the people with the solutions are here and you're not listening to us. The TV stations don't listen to us. We're here with public access, thank God. But other than that, then KVAL and KZI and KMTR, you got your little hey boys that you go to and hey girls that you talk to about this stuff, but you don't want solutions either. So I really hope you all wake up before we're all dead and buried and this planet's gone to shit.
Yeah, the poll was, that story on the poll, by the way, it was from the website stopthedrugwar.org. I need to give them more credit to let everybody know that's a great website to go to for information. That's one of my favorites. And so, and then this is out of the Mail Tribune out of Medford, and this is an op-ed that George Will wrote. George Will is I believe, is a conservative opinion.
I guess I don't listen to him.
Writer. Anyway, he writes, making sense of the drug legalization dilemma. The human nervous system interacts in pleasing and addictive ways with certain molecules derived from certain plants, which is why humans may have developed beer before they developed bread. Psychoactive, consciousness altering, and addictive drugs are natural. In fact, that would immunize policymakers against extravagant hopes as they cope with America's drug problem, which is convulsing some nations to our south. The cost, human, financial, and social, of combating most drugs are prompting calls for decriminalization or legalization. America should, however, learn from the psychoactive drug used by the majority of American adults, alcohol. Mark Kleinman of UCLA, a policy analyst, was recently discussing drug policy with someone who said he had no experience with illegal drugs, not even marijuana, because he is of the gin generation. Ah, said Kleinman, gin, a much more dangerous drug. 20% of all American prisoners, 500,000 people, are incarcerated for dealing illegal drugs. But alcohol causes as much as half of America's criminal violence and vehicular fatalities. Drinking alcohol had been a widely exercised private right for millennia when America tried to prohibit it. As a public health measure, prohibition worked. Alcohol-related illnesses declined dramatically. As the monetary cost of drinking tripled, deaths from cirrhosis of the liver declined by a third. This improvement was, however, paid for in the coin of rampant criminality and disrespect for law. Prohibition resembled what is today called decriminalization. It did not make drinking illegal, it criminalized the making, importing, transporting, or selling of alcohol. Drinking remained legal, so oceans of it were made, imported, transported, and sold. And that's a good point, you know, and I've heard that before, anyway, the connection. And in fact, the Measure 29 website, I love the name of the website, endprohibitionagain.org. So tell it like it is, you know.
Cool. Well, then there's this, let me talk about this drug. I love it so much. Another legal drug, nicotine, kills more people than does alcohol and all illegal drugs combined. For decades, government has aggressively publicized the health risk of smoking and made it unfashionable, stigmatized, expensive, and inconvenient. Yet 20% of every rising American generation becomes addicted to nicotine. So suppose cocaine or heroin were legalized and marketed as cigarettes and alcohol are, and suppose the level of addiction were to replicate the 7% of adults suffering from alcohol abuse or dependency. That would be a public health disaster. As the late James Q. Wilson said, nicotine shortens life, cocaine debases it. Still, because the costs of prohibition, interdiction, mass incarceration, etc. are staggeringly high, some people say, let's just try legalization for a while. Society is not, however, like a controlled laboratory. In society, experiments that produce disappointing or unexpected results cannot be tidily reversed. Legalized marijuana could be produced for much less than 1/10 of its current price as an illegal commodity. Legalization of cocaine and heroin would cut their prices too. They would sell for a tiny percentage of their current prices, and using high excise taxes to maintain cocaine and heroin prices at current levels would produce widespread tax evasion and an illegal market. Furthermore, legalization would mean drugs of reliable quality would be conveniently available from clean stores for customers, not risking the stigma of breaking the law in furtive transactions with unsavory people. So there is no reason to think today's levels of addiction are anywhere near the levels that would be reached under legalization. Regarding the interdicting of drug shipments, capturing kingpin distributors, and incarcerating dealers, consider data from the book Drugs and Drug Policy, What Everyone Needs to Know by Kleiman. Almost all heroin comes from poppies grown on 4% of the arable land of one country, Afghanistan. 4 South American countries, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, produce more than 90% of the world's cocaine. But attempts to decrease production in source countries produces the balloon effect. Squeeze a balloon in one spot, it bulges in another. Suppress production of poppies or cocoa leaves here, production moves there. The $8 billion plan, Colombia was a melancholy success, reducing cocoa production there 65%, while production increased 40% in Peru and doubled in Bolivia. In the 1980s, when cocaine cowboys made Miami lawless, the U.S. government created the South Florida Task Force to interdict cocaine shipped from Central and South America by small planes and cigarette boats. This interdiction was so successful, the cartels opened new delivery routes. Tranquility in Miami was purchased at the price of mayhem in Mexico. America spends 20 times more on drug control than all the world's poppy and coca growers earn. A subsequent column will suggest a more economic approach to the natural problem of drugs.
And that's from George Will, syndicated columnist in Washington, D.C. And so it'll be interesting to see what his next column comes out and see what he has to say about that. But I would appreciate it, Will. We need to wrap this thing up. We ran out of time again. We just keep running out of time.
Well, we need more folks. We need folks to come down here. We need folks to get involved in all the different things that are being done around here. Please, folks, if you're sitting there trying to tell yourself that you're bored, get up.
That's right. And Global Marijuana March is a great place to start. So thanks a lot, Will. We'll see you next time.
You have a good one.